The preamble of the Indian Constitution, just an introduction or the very soul of our democracy. You must have glanced over it many times in your life, but did you know that this one paragraph has shaped landmark Supreme Court judgments and continues to influence our laws today? In this lecture, we'll break it down word by word, trace its history, and analyze how courts have interpreted it over time. The preamble can be divided into three parts by reference to its qualitative characteristics. The first part is declaratory, whereby the people of India in their Constituent Assembly adopted, enacted, and gave themselves this constitution. The second part is resolutionary, where the people of India solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic. The third part is promissory, a commitment made by the people of India to secure to all its citizens the four objectives mentioned in the Constitution: justice, equality, and fraternity, accompanied by an assurance of dignity of the individual and the unity of the nation. And there is another way of looking at the preamble by reference to time: past, present, and future. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved in our Constituent Assembly this 26th day of November 1949, is a contemporaneous event, an event of the present, being placed on record. The rest of the preamble, that is, to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring dignity of the individual and unity of the nation, is the future or the destiny of we the people, the nation, the republic, that is India. And this part forms the hopes and aspirations of the people of India. In this video, you will get to learn everything that you need to learn about the preamble of the Indian Constitution, and maybe a little more. Did you know that the words socialist and secular were not part of the original preamble? Or that the Supreme Court once debated whether the preamble was even a part of the Constitution? Stay tuned as we uncover these fascinating details. Here's what you learned today: the historical context of the preamble, word by word breakdown, key Supreme Court cases, and its relevance in today's India. So get ready to take notes because this is going to be an insightful video for you. But before we dive in, let's ask a simple question: why does the preamble matter? The preamble is often called the soul of the Constitution. It is more than just an introduction. It reflects the vision of our nation, the values we stand for, and the principles that guide our governance. You can think of the preamble as the building block or a foundation of a building. Without it, the entire Constitution would lack direction. It sets the tone for the Constitution, defines India's core values, and helps in interpreting laws whenever there's ambiguity. For example, the courts have often referred to the preamble to resolve disputes. It also acts as a guiding light whenever a law is questioned on its constitutionality. But where did these ideas come from? The preamble was not written overnight. Its roots go back to the freedom struggle and key documents like the Nehru Report in 1928 and the Objective Resolution in 1946, both of which envisioned an independent India based on justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. The preamble reflects the aspirations of the people of India. It declares that sovereignty lies not with kings or rulers, but with we, the people of India. But is the preamble legally binding? Can it be enforced like fundamental rights? We'll answer these questions as we move forward. Next, let us explore the historical context. Why was the preamble created in the first place? To truly understand the preamble, we will need to go back in time to British India. Before independence, Indians were ruled under colonial laws, often repressive, oppressive, and discriminatory. Rights were a privilege, not a guarantee. The Government of India Act 1935 was the closest thing to a constitution back then, but it was still controlled by the British. India needed a document that reflected the will of its people, a vision of what independent India should stand for. The first real attempt to define India's future was in 1928 with the Nehru Report. It proposed a Bill of Rights and a democratic framework. Though it was rejected by the British, it planted the seeds of constitutional thinking in the Indian mind. Now we fast forward to the year 1946. The Constituent Assembly was formed. Leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, B.R. Ambedkar, Sardar Patel debated India's future in the Constituent Assembly. One of the first steps that they took was defining the nation's ideals. So, on December 13th, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru introduced the Objectives Resolution. This laid the foundation of the preamble, declaring India's commitment to sovereignty, justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. What were the principles that were laid out in the Objectives Resolution? Number one was India is a sovereign state. Number two, citizens will have the right to justice, equality, and freedom. Number three was minorities, tribes, and the poor should be protected. And number four was India should work towards world peace and the welfare of all people. The Objectives Resolution was more than just words. It became the guiding philosophy of our Constitution, and that philosophy was captured in the preamble. But the journey didn't end there. The preamble evolved through debates, ensuring that it reflected not just political ideals of the leaders, but the aspirations of millions of Indians. Now, we will break down the preamble word by word. Every phrase in this one paragraph carries deep meaning and reflects the vision of our constitution makers. We, the people of India. These words are powerful. They declare that the ultimate authority in India lies with its people. Unlike monarchies or colonial rule or dictatorships, where power was inherited or imposed, India's sovereignty comes from its citizens. This phrase reinforces the democratic nature of our country, ensuring that governance is by the people, for the people, and of the people. Sovereignty means that India is completely independent, both externally and internally. No foreign powers control our decisions, and no external authority can dictate our laws. From foreign policy decisions to economic independence, this sovereignty ensures that India stands on its own terms in global affairs. The word socialist was not in the original preamble. It was added in the year 1976 during the emergency to reaffirm India's commitment to reducing inequalities, both economic and social. This means that the state plays an active role in ensuring wealth is not concentrated in the hands of a few, and that the weaker sections of the society are protected. Now we come to the word secular. The word secular was also not in the original preamble. It was added by the 42nd Amendment in 1976. In general terms, secular refers to the principle of neutrality. in matters of religion, meaning that the state neither endorses nor discriminates against any particular religion. In the Indian context, however, secularism has a highly unique, pluralistic, and accommodative character. It is not about the complete exclusion of religion from public life, but rather about the equal treatment of all religious communities. Indian secularism guarantees freedom of religious practice while ensuring that the state remains neutral and does not favor one religion over another. This approach is designed to safeguard the rights of a diverse society where religious identity plays a significant cultural and social role. Now let's come to the word democratic. The word democratic in the Indian constitution signifies that the power of the governance lies with the people through universal adult suffrage, free and fair elections, and a representative government. It ensures equality, accountability, and protection of fundamental rights, preventing authoritarian rule. The framers included the word democratic in the preamble to emphasize India's transition from monarchy and colonial rule to a system where all citizens, regardless of caste, religion, or economic status, have an equal voice. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar highlighted its deeper meaning by stating democracy is not merely a form of government. It is essentially an attitude of respect and reverence towards fellow men. By adopting a parliamentary democracy, India reinforced its commitment to people's participation, rule of law, and continuous public oversight of governance. Being a democratic country means that India follows a system of government where leaders are elected by the people and every citizen has the right to vote, which is universal adult suffrage. Also, express opinions and participate in governance. Democracy isn't just about elections either. It includes the right to dissent, freedom of speech, and accountability of the government. And next, we come to the word republic. A republic is a form of government in which ultimate power rests with the people and their elected representatives, rather than being inherited through a monarchy. Declaring India a republic in the constitution affirms that the head of the state, the president, is elected, ensuring that authority flows from the citizenry. This was a deliberate choice by the framers to break away from the monarchical rule and to establish a government accountable to its people. During the Constituent Assembly debates, Maulana Hazrat Mohani emphasized this point when he remarked the original word in the objectives resolution was sovereign independent republic, underscoring that the founding idea was for India to be governed by its people rather than by hereditary rulers. This foundational concept guarantees that sovereignty lies in the people and is exercised through their chosen representatives, a principle that remains central to India's democratic ethos. This ensures that the highest office in the country is accessible to any citizen, not just a privileged few. Now we come to the words justice, social, economic, and political. Justice is just not about courts and laws. The preamble mentions three types of justice: social, economic, and political. This triad of justice aims to establish a society where equality prevails, opportunities are accessible to all, and individual dignity is upheld. Social justice seeks to eliminate inequalities that exist among individuals and groups in society. It emphasizes the removal of social barriers and discrimination based on caste, race, religion, sex, or place of birth, ensuring equal treatment and opportunities for all. Economic justice focuses on reducing the gap between the rich and the poor. It involves the equitable distribution of wealth, resources, and opportunities, aiming to provide individuals with a fair chance to achieve economic well being. Political justice ensures that all citizens have equal political rights, access to political participation, and an equal voice in the governmental process. This includes the right to vote, run for public office, and engage in political discourse without fear of discrimination or repression. These principles are further reinforced in Part 4 of the Constitution, known as the Directive Principles of State Policy. For instance, Article 38 mandates that the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting, as effectively as it may, a social order in which justice, social, economic, and political shall inform all institutions of the national life. During the Constituent Assembly debates, the framers underscored the importance of embedding these forms of justice into the national framework. They believed that achieving social, economic, and political justice was essential for a holistic development of the country and for the well being of all its citizens. By enshrining these ideals in the preamble and the directive principles, the Constitution provides a guiding framework for the state to formulate policies and laws aimed at building an inclusive, equitable, and just society. An example of social justice might be the abolition of untouchability and also reservation. And an example of economic justice is minimum wages and the taxation policies. The example for political justice is right to vote and contest elections. These ensure that every citizen in India, regardless of background, has equal access to rights, resources, and political participation. Now we come to the words liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. These words, as enshrined in the preamble of the Indian Constitution, guarantees that every citizen may think freely, articulate opinions without undue interference, and practice any religion or none of their choosing. This fundamental right is explicitly stated in the preamble. Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, and serves as a cornerstone for the entire constitutional framework. During the Constituent Assembly debates, the framers stressed the indispensability of this freedom for a healthy democracy. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, emphasizing the critical role of free expression in a democratic society, noted that freedom of expression is the cornerstone of democracy, underscoring that such liberties are essential not only for personal development but also for ensuring that the government remains accountable and responsible to its people. By enshrining this liberty, the Constitution aims to secure an environment where diverse opinions and beliefs can coexist, thereby fostering a pluralistic society in which every individual is free to pursue intellectual and spiritual growth. Liberty means that individuals are free to think, express, and believe without fear of suppression. It covers speech, religion, and even personal choices. This freedom is protected under fundamental rights, particularly Article 19 and Article 25 of the Constitution. Now let us come to the words equality of status and opportunity. The phrase equality of status and opportunity, enshrined in the preamble of the Indian Constitution, reflects the nation's commitment to ensuring that all citizens are treated equally and have access to the same opportunities regardless of their background. The principle is further elaborated in the Constitution through various articles. Like Article 14, it guarantees equality before the law and equal protection of laws to all individuals within the territory of India. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. These provisions aim to create a level playing field, ensuring that every citizen has equal chance to succeed and that the systematic barriers to equality are dismantled. This also means that all individuals should be treated the same under the law without discrimination. Whether rich or poor, man or woman, every citizen must get equal opportunities. And now let's move on to the word fraternity. Fraternity means a sense of brotherhood among all citizens. It ensures social harmony and national unity. This is crucial in a diverse country like India, where unity in diversity is a core principle we rely on. In his concluding address to the Constituent Assembly on 25th November 1949, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar emphasized the critical role of fraternity in fostering national unity and ensuring individual dignity. He defines fraternity as a sense of common brotherhood of all Indians, highlighting its importance in providing unity and solidarity to social life. Dr. Ambedkar cautioned that without fraternity, the principles of liberty and equality would be superficial, stating, "Without fraternity, equality and liberty will be no deeper than coats of paint." He also addressed the challenges posed by the caste system, describing castes as an anti national element due to their divisive nature. He urged the nation to overcome these divisions to truly become a unified nation. So, to sum it up, India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic that ensures justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity for all. These words are not just ideals, they form the foundation of our nation. Now, let's come to the role the preamble plays in Supreme Court cases. The preamble is not just a decorative introduction to the Constitution. It has played a crucial role in shaping some of the most important and significant Supreme Court judgments in Indian history. Let us explore how courts have interpreted it. While the preamble itself is not enforceable in a court of law, judges often use it as a guiding principle to interpret constitutional provisions and resolve ambiguities. Let me show you key cases where the preamble influenced the judicial decisions. One of the most important cases in Indian legal history is Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala 1973. This case questioned whether Parliament had unlimited power to amend the Constitution. The court ruled that while Parliament can amend the Constitution, it cannot alter its basic structure. The preamble was used to define this basic structure, ensuring that values like democracy, secularism, and justice remain untouched. This is the case that gave birth to the basic structure doctrine, ensuring that no government or parliament can change the basic structure of the Indian constitution, that ensure values like democracy, secularism, and justice to remain untouched. The second landmark case is S.R. Bommai versus Union of India 1994. The preamble was also crucial in this case. The Supreme Court of India had to examine the scope and limitations of Article 356 of the Constitution, which allows for president's rule in states under certain conditions. A pivotal aspect of this judgment was the court's interpretation of the preamble, particularly its commitment to secularism. The court emphasized that secularism is a fundamental feature of the Constitution, as reflected in the preamble's resolve to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. It noted that the preamble's assurance of liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship underscores the nation's dedication to religious freedom and equality. In its analysis, the court observed, quote, our Constitution does not prohibit the practice of any religion either privately or publicly. Through the preamble of the Constitution, the people of this country have solemnly resolved to constitute this country, among others, into a secular republic. This interpretation led the court to conclude that any state government's actions violating the principles of secularism could justify the invocation of Article 356. Thus, the preamble's enshrinement of secularism played a crucial role in shaping the court's decision, reinforcing its status as a guiding light for constitutional interpretation. This case reinforced two things: India's secular nature and the limits of central government power over states. There have been several cases in which preamble has played a role. For example, in the Berubari Union case, the Supreme Court initially ruled that the preamble was not part of the Constitution. In Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan 1975, used the preamble to uphold democratic principles. In Minerva Mills versus Union of India, the court reaffirmed that Parliament cannot violate the basic structure referring to the preamble. So, over time, judicial interpretation has evolved from initially considering the preamble as a mere introduction to recognizing its vital role in safeguarding constitutional principles. And even now, if there is any ambiguity relating to laws or any other part of the Constitution, the courts always refer to the preamble for guidance. So the preamble is not just a historical text. It continues to shape India's legal, political, and social landscape. Its principles guide policy decisions, judicial interpretations, and public discourse even today. It continues to shape laws, policies, and the society. And as citizens, understanding its values helps us engage in meaningful discussions about India's future. So, what do you think? Does the preamble still reflect India today? I would love to know your view on this, so please comment and let me know. And before we wrap up, let's quickly summarize what we've learned today. The preamble defines India's identity as a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic. It serves as a guiding light for interpreting constitutional provisions and judicial decisions. The landmark judgment in Keshwananda Bharati gave birth to the basic structure doctrine, which says that the basic structure of the constitution cannot be altered by the parliament or any government, and its principles remain relevant in contemporary debates on justice, liberty, equality, and governance. For students, understanding the preamble is essential. It helps you grasp constitutional philosophy and enhances your ability to analyze legal and policy decisions critically. If you have found this lecture helpful, here's what you can do next. Reread the preamble and try to analyze its meaning in your own words. Explore Supreme Court cases that we have discussed, and it would be great if you could engage in discussions about the relevancy of its ideals in today's India. Thank you for watching the whole video. I'm sure you have got to learn something new about the preamble. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comment sections.